All right, listen up, you glorious bastards, Jensen barked, his voice slicing through the rising hum of the battle stations. These Sarnak scum think they've caught us with our pants down, but I'll be damned if we let these space vermin pick our bones clean without a fight. He pointed aggressively at the tactical display, where the enemy ships were closing in fast. I want gunners at their stations 5 minutes ago, and I need shields up yesterday. We're not just going to shoot back. We're going to make these bastards regret they ever left their godforsaken star system. Captain Alex Jensen eyed the vast stretch of cosmos from the bridge of the Heart of Valor, the weight of solitude pressing down on the cold metal around him and his crew. Space at the frontier was unforgiving, a silent expanse, punctuated only by the occasional blip of distant stars and the soft hum of the ship's engines. The monotony shattered with the piercing blare of alarms. Red lights bathed the bridge in a dire glow as the tactical screen flashed alive with a host of incoming signals. A Sarnak battle group, unexpected and unprovoked, hurtled from the dark void of an asteroid cluster directly into their patrol route. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Jensen's voice was calm, edged with an urgency that spurred his crew into swift action. His gaze flicked to Rail, his second-in-command, who approached with a report. They've got us outgunned, Captain. Looks like a full squadron, maybe more. Didn't even see them coming, Rail said, handing over the tactical readout. Jensen's eyes narrowed as he scanned the data. Get me a channel to all decks, now. His fingers clenched into a fist. Listen up, everyone, Jensen began, his voice resounding through the ship. We've got a bucket of Sarnak Vipers on our ass, and they're itching for a fight. I don't intend to let these space rats take us without throwing some punches. Shields up and prepare to return fire. As the crew hustled, the Sarnak ships drew closer, their weapons charging, ominous, and ready. The Heart of Valor shook slightly under the strain of powering up its defense systems. On the main deck, gunners manned their stations, the tension palpable in the air. Rail watched the approaching ships, then turned to Jensen. Weapons are hot, shields at maximum, but if they keep coming like this, we're in for a rough ride. Jensen kept his eyes on the screen, plotting their maneuvers. Time to see if these Sarnak bastards can dance. Helm, initiate evasive pattern Sigma. I want us out of their primary firing arc. The ship lurched beneath them, veering off its previous course as the helmsman executed Jensen's commands with precision. Outside, the black of space lit up with the deadly ballet of energy blasts and evasive thrusters. Captain, they're matching our moves, staying on our 6, called out the tactical officer, his voice tense over the sound of pulsing alarms. Fire up the aft cannons. Let's give them a taste of what we've got, Jensen ordered, his voice steely, refusing to let desperation seep into his words. As the Heart of Valor's cannons roared to life, sending a barrage of return fire, a sudden, uneasy thought struck Jensen. They were alone out here, far from any backup. The only help they might get would have to come from beyond their own borders. Rail, send out the distress signal, wideband, all channels. It's a long shot, but maybe someone's listening today, Jensen said, fixing his gaze on the holo display as their shots met the shields of the Sarnak ships. The Heart of Valor trembled under the relentless barrage from the Sarnak warships. Every blast against the shields sent a shudder through the vessel, a grim reminder of their desperate circumstances. Captain Alex Jensen stood firm at the command console, his jaw set, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Rail approached, his voice barely above a whisper against the cacophony of alerts. Captain, we're holding them off, but not sure how long we can keep this up. Keep everyone on their toes, Rail. Reinforcements are coming, Jensen replied, though the assurance sounded hollow even to his ears. The wideband distress signal had been a desperate shot in the dark. Suddenly, the communications officer perked up, a note of surprise in his voice breaking through the tension. Captain, you need to see this. We're receiving responses to our distress call. Jensen strode over, eyes narrowing as he scanned the incoming messages. Icons representing various ships began popping up on the holographic display. They weren't just human, The symbols of several alien races flickered into existence, a motley crew responding to their call. "Looks like the galaxy isn't ready to see us go down just yet," Jensen said, a wry smile breaking his stern facade. He toggled the intercom. "All hands, prepare to coordinate with incoming Allied ships. Let's show these Sarnak pests what happens when you corner us." As the alien vessels converged on their position, a makeshift war council convened on the heart of Valor's bridge. Representatives of the Zalari, a race known for their electronic warfare prowess, were the first to arrive. A hologram of Commander T-Rev, his features sharp and angular, flickered to life. "We can scramble their sensors, Captain. It'll give you a window to strike," T-Rev offered, his voice carrying the buzz of Zalari speech. Next, the rugged Derny pilots, flying heavily armored cruisers, joined in. Their leader, a burly figure named Korga, grunted a greeting. Derny ships ready to ram through their lines. "Just say when." Jensen surveyed the assembled allies, each bringing their own strengths to the table. "All right, let's draw up a plan. Rev, you and your team disrupt their targeting systems. Korga, I want your cruisers to push through their flank once they're blind." He turned to his crew. "We'll punch a hole right through the Sarnak line. Focus all firepower on any breaches we create." The Allied fleet began to move as one, a dance of coordination against the backdrop of the void. Zalari ships emitted waves of electronic interference, casting ripples across space that confused the Sarnak sensors. "Cap, it's working," shouted the tactical officer. Their formations breaking. Korga's cruisers surged forward, their hulls like the battering rams of old, smashing into the disoriented Sarnak ships with a ferocity that turned desperation into a fighting chance. Jensen watched as the battle turned, the tide momentarily in their favor. "Maintain pressure," he commanded, his voice booming over the din. "All ships, follow through. Hit them hard while we've got the upper hand." The dust of battle settled around the heart of Valor, her hull scarred but unbroken. On the bridge, Captain Alex Jensen watched as the last of the Sarnak ships limped away into the void. His crew, bolstered by adrenaline and relief, began the post-battle protocols, their movements swift and efficient. "We did it, Captain. They're retreating," Rail exclaimed, a rare grin breaking across his battle-hardened face. Jensen nodded, his eyes still scanning the tactical display. "They did," he affirmed, "but let's not pat ourselves on the back just yet. We need to secure this victory." He turned to the communications console. "Get me a link to all ship commanders." Time for a debrief. As the alien leaders appeared on the holographic display, a motley crew of faces from different corners of the galaxy, Jensen cleared his throat. "Thanks to each of you, we've held the line today. Now, we need to think about tomorrow. We can't let this momentum go to waste." Commander T-Rev of the Zalari chimed in, his voice tinged with static. "Agreed, Captain. The Sarnak will think twice before attacking, but they will regroup. We must prepare." Korga, the burly Derny, growled in agreement. "We hit them hard today. We should strike at their bases before they gather strength again." Jensen listened, his mind racing through scenarios. "A counterattack is a good strategy, but let's turn our temporary alliance into a formal pact. We need a standing fleet, one that can protect not just us, but other systems that might face the Sarnak threat." The proposal sparked a flurry of discussions among the group, each leader weighing in with their perspectives and concerns. The idea of a united galactic front began to take shape, a federation of sorts that could stand against not just the Sarnak, but any who threatened peace in their sectors. "Captain Jensen, your plan has merit," said a new voice, calm and melodic. It was Lyra, commander of the swift Akori vessels, known for their speed and espionage capabilities. "However, trust is earned on more than the battlefield. We need a charter, agreements that bind us not just out of necessity, but for a shared future." Jensen nodded, his expression solemn. "You're right, Commander Lyra. I propose we draft this charter together, here on the heart of Valor, while the memory of today's battle is still fresh. We have a chance to build something lasting. The commanders agreed, and plans were made for extended talks over the coming days. As the meeting adjourned, Jensen turned to his crew, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Prepare the ship for guests. We're about to host a historic summit, he announced, then glanced at Rail. And let's make sure the galley is stocked up. Diplomacy is hungry work. The command deck of the Heart of Valor had been transformed. What was once a space brimming with the buzz of tactical alerts and orders was now a place of historic confluence. Representatives from across the known systems, beings of all shapes and colors, gathered around a newly installed round table, a symbol of equality and shared purpose. Captain Alex Jensen stood at the head of the table, the weight of the moment not lost on him. Welcome to the Heart of Valor, he began, his voice steady and inviting. Today, we aren't just survivors of a battle, we are architects of our future. Commander T, Rev, his features lit by the soft glow of the table's interface, nodded. Let's proceed with drafting our charter. Our first order of business should be the structure of our Joint Fleet Command. Debate ensued, with various leaders proposing how best to integrate their forces. Korga insisted on a decentralized command, reflecting the diverse tactical strengths of each fleet. Lyra suggested an intelligence-sharing protocol, her voice calm but insistent, emphasizing the need for transparency. Jensen listened, facilitating the discussion with a diplomat's touch. Both points are vital. We'll need a flexible command structure that allows us to play to our strengths while maintaining unity. As for intelligence, transparency will be our foundation. No secrets among allies. As they drafted the charter, every clause deliberated and negotiated. The room was charged with a cautious optimism. The discussions were intense, sometimes heated, as each leader sought assurances for their people's safety and interests. Suddenly, Rail interrupted, his voice urgent but controlled. Captain, long-range sensors have picked up a Sarnak scouting party on the edge of the system. The room fell silent, the reminder of the ever-present threat hanging heavy in the air. Jensen's response was swift. Let this be the first test of our resolve. Commander T, Rev, Korga, let's coordinate our fleets and handle this together. The alien commanders agreed, moving to their respective consoles integrated around the table. The Heart of Valor's sensors displayed real-time movements of both the Allied fleets and the approaching Sarnak ships. Scramble the fighters. Let's show them the might of our united front, Jensen commanded, his eyes on the screen. The ensuing skirmish was brief but decisive. The Allied fleet, operating under a unified command for the first time, managed to outmaneuver and repel the Sarnak scouts with minimal effort. It was a resounding success, a proof of concept for their fledgling alliance. Back at the summit, applause broke out among the delegates. Jensen smiled, allowing himself a moment of pride. Today we defended not just our space, but our shared vision. As the summit drew to a close, the final version of the charter was signed, each leader affixing their mark to the holographic document. The newly formed alliance was christened the Galactic Unity Front, a beacon of cooperation in a sea of stars. The signing of the charter marked a new era for the Galactic Unity Front. On the bridge of the Heart of Valor, Captain Alex Jensen watched as the last of the delegates departed, their ships disappearing into the warp of hyperspace, bound for their respective corners of the galaxy. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, mingled with the weight of new responsibilities. Captain, all delegates have confirmed course clear, heading back to report to their governments. Rail updated, his voice carrying a note of pride. Jensen nodded, gazing out into the starlit void. Set course for the Rixian sector. It's time we start our patrols under the new banner. Let's make sure everyone knows the Unity Front isn't just a name. As the Heart of Valor made its way through space, its mission now carried a broader purpose. Each patrol, each mission was a message of unity and a deterrent to any who might still think them a fractured coalition. Weeks passed, and the unified fleet grew stronger, patrols becoming more coordinated and the shared intelligence network proving its worth. But the true test came when a distress signal reached the Heart of Valor a remote mining colony, was under attack by a rogue Sarnak faction. "Captain, they're hitting the colony hard. We're to the closest ship in range," Rail reported, urgency lacing his tone. "Divert course. Send out the call to nearby Unity ships. Let's move," Jensen commanded, his voice resolute. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships from the Zalari, Derni, and several other races converged on the colony. Together, they repelled the Sarnak attackers with a ferocity and precision that had become the hallmark of the Unity Front. After the battle, Jensen met with the colony's leaders on the ground, his presence a reassurance of the Unity Front's commitment to protect all member territories. "You're not alone anymore." "That's the promise of the Unity Front," he told them, his words echoing around the crowded room, met with nods and murmurs of approval. Back aboard the Heart of Valor, Jensen and his crew debriefed. "We're making a difference, Captain." "They see it out there," Rail said, gesturing to the star chart on the screen, showing their recent patrol routes and interventions. "Yes, we are," Jensen acknowledged. "Keep me updated on any movements. And Rael, make sure our new allies are integrated into the rotations. They need to be as much a part of this as we are." "Will do, Captain. And the Council has requested your presence at the next summit. Seems they want to discuss expanding the front further." Jensen smiled slightly. "Expanding already? That's a good sign. Schedule it. It seems this journey's just beginning."